and I just kind of make whatever video I feel like making.
When are you going to go out and get like a real job?
Who cares? 20, 30, 40, 100 hours to edit. On a day like that, there'd probably be around 40 to 60 blasters.
How many did you have to your name?
And I think it was around 1,200.
Ooh.
I film most of my videos just with a GoPro on my head. I'm trying to think about the best way to put it. I haven't thought about this for a while.
In the world of online Nerf entertainment, Aaron Esser needs a little introduction. Primarily producing Nerf and Super Soaker related films, challenges, and reviews, his channel has amassed over 8 million subscribers and well over 3 billion views. He's one of the few people that can call himself a full-time Nerf YouTuber. There's no telling how many new people get exposed to the modern toy blaster scene because of his videos. I sat down with Aaron to ask him about it all. What's changed over the years, what hasn't, how does he get these sweet locations, and as a seasoned YouTube veteran, what advice does he have for improving my own videos? Hope you enjoy. Aaron, thank you for joining me today. I truly appreciate your time. You are a new father, a new house owner.
Correct.
Time is not exactly something you have an abundance of, so I truly do appreciate you being here with me today.
Hey, happy to be here.
And congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, our son is 12 weeks old tomorrow. It's been a great 3 months so far.
I have to point out that, now that you have a kid, you've got a house, you got people depending on you. When are you going to take this career of yours a little bit more seriously, right? Like this Nerf thing, this YouTube thing. When are you going to go out and get like a real job, right?
Yeah, I've been doing YouTube for full time for 10 years. So most people still ask me if they don't know me, like, oh, do you make money off that? Like, what else do you do? It's like, nope, no, we're coming up on, it's either 9 or 10 years in January doing it full time. And then all of the just fun times and part time before that. So
I was curious if people would genuinely ask that, but I think for a lot of people who just aren't, I hate to say young, but it does feel like there's kind of an age difference.
yeah, it's based on the context. If it's like a government person, like, oh, what do you do for a living? I'm just like, oh, I'm just a videographer. Like, just to make it simple. So there's no other questions. If I just meet people on the street and I want like the conversation to be quick or them not to ask questions, yeah, usually it's the same. I just say I'm just a videographer. It's not like I'm lying, but it's like I don't really want to get into the details. But at this point, most people I just say, hey, I'm an influencer or I'm a YouTuber at this point.
Do you like
And that's
describing it that way? Do you have a preferred method of telling people what your job is?
Or sometimes, yeah, that's pretty much that's it. Or sometimes I just say I just make YouTube videos, and then sometimes, oh, there's no way, that's kind of crazy. Or some people ask deeper questions, get right into it. I don't know. There's different levels of it for sure. So
yeah,
for a while there, I was trying to be a little quirky, and I would say something like, oh, I make like online content for Google's like digital video platform or something like that. And then they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, it's YouTube.
yeah, it's a very specific way that will be the answer. And I imagine because some people are very touchy-feely about, I don't know, calling themselves a YouTuber, right? There's definitely, I think, a stigma about like, I'm an influencer, right? For some people, that's an immediate turnoff, and then other people still have no idea what that means. You actually do just make your living off of the platform of YouTube, exclusively YouTube, or do you have any other like kind of side work? Because I've seen you have like a couple channels and you have like a little merch store, but is it really just YouTube?
It's pretty much just YouTube. Yeah. So even the influencer thing, I would say I'm pretty much just a YouTuber. I don't really I have a little bit of like, I have a TikTok following, a little bit of an Instagram following, and we sell like a tiny bit of merch, but it's almost like somewhere between 90 and 99% is from YouTube and from my main channel. So, and we've been on and off the last couple of years trying to grow like my second channel and my vlogging channel and my gaming channel. Sorry. But for the most part, it's just the main channel, and that's what I've been doing full time for 10 years. So yeah, YouTuber is probably the most simplest and the most accurate.
That's really impressive, especially nowadays. I think you are well aware that people will talk about, oh, you got to diversify, what you're doing. You can't just rely on YouTube and stuff. So it's really, yeah, just impressive for its own right to just have kind of YouTube be that source of income, but also like for our space, like this, the Nerf space, the greater Nerf space, however people want to call it. They get picky and choosy if you just say the one word Nerf, but like there are very few people who can call it their kind of sole job or like the way that they make a living. And you've definitely carved that niche out for yourself on YouTube. I think,
Yeah.
if you search Nerf, there's a very, very good chance that you are like one of the first results. If you search Nerf on Google as it is, there's a great
Yeah.
chance that your videos will come up first.
Yeah.
What
One of my
what is
thumbnails
that
might be
like?
in Google Images in the top potentially.
Yeah, what I just have zero insight into what that feels like. As someone who makes some videos, it's always interesting to see like what where you might come up for like
Mhm.
people searching certain things, but like you are very much tied to that one magical word Nerf. Like
Yeah.
what is it kind of like the pros and cons that come with that?
It kind of goes back to the earlier question or comment about to diversify. I'm locked in with Nerf. Maybe we could say like Super Soaker as well would be my next, but that Nerf Super
Hmm.
Soaker, they go together, right? So
Yep.
yeah, I'm definitely locked in there. And I have over the years tried to diversify with my content and with bringing in an income as well. And some things have been slightly successful, but for the most part, it's the main channel making Nerf gun videos, Nerf gun game videos, Nerf war videos, whatever you want to call it, is my bread and butter, and that's mostly what has worked. And yeah, it's at this point, it's kind of become just like my job almost. Like it's just like the thing I do like 9 to 5. I'm trying to think about the best way to put it. I haven't thought about this for a while. For some reason, a lot of people think like, oh, you're famous or like you're famous nerd, you're like a famous Nerf YouTuber or something like that. And I think because of the context of my videos that it's mostly first person, like mostly in my hands,
Hmm.
everyone's like, oh, you must be recognized all the time. I'm like, I maybe get recognized like once or twice a year.
Just
Like
one
that's it.
hand will get recognized. They're
Yeah,
really
yeah,
looking
yeah.
for it. You go to the
That's
grocery
it.
store, the cashier will absolutely like, aha,
Yeah.
those hands.
That's it. Or maybe like a kid at like a store or something will kind of like glance at me for a second, and then maybe potentially later, like their parents will come up to me and be like, "Hey, is your name Aaron? Like, I think my kid recognizes you." But it's super rare.
Hmm.
So at this point, I just like making YouTube videos. I'm a very private person. We live like kind of in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, and I make my YouTube videos with most of my friends. They're kind of friends, kind of employees, little middle ground there. And yeah, I just love making Nerf gun videos. And once we're done making them, let's just go back to living family life, I guess.
It's hard to not hear what you are saying there and take away that you've got it made. I mean, I was just, looking at some of your old stuff too, and it's very reminiscent to some of the games that I used to like record with my friends, some of them being a little bit staged, some of it just being
Yeah,
regular old, like, all right, we're gonna, 2v2, 3v3, whatever. But in the most positive way I can say it, you're kind of just living that childhood dream and you've just never been able to let go of it, right? Like you have been making those videos with your
yeah,
friends, but you've been able to make them better and better, grow your audience, make the income. It's like it
yeah,
really is kind of like you've just been able to keep that passion alive and you're
yeah,
enthusiastic about making those videos and that's what keeps you going, which is great.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The cool thing is that we just take the Nerf blasters or Nerf guns, and I just kind of make whatever video I feel like making. And that, yeah, it's a kind of a dream come true. It's like, oh, I want to make. I don't ever feel locked in to having to be forced. Like, oh, I've got to make the next video.
Hmm.
There's always a little bit of that. It kind of, no matter how much you like what you're doing, at some point it is going to somewhat become a job. Like
Of
it's going to
course.
be monotonous. It's going to be boring. But for the most part, even though we're on to the next Nerf gun game, going to be making Nerf gun game 25. It's like it's still fun, and I'm still excited to do it. And yeah, it is still kind of like we're living that childhood dream. We have freaking 20 Nerf blasters. And we usually have two or three of each. So we have backups, or we have like multiple characters can be on them at the same time. And we're just running around shooting each other with them. And I film most of my videos just with a GoPro on my head. So we don't have any production crew. It's just like me and five buddies, and we just go at it, and we have creative ideas the whole time. And it's fun. It's awesome. And get to unbox Nerf blasters on a regular basis. And my true passion is like I want to be a filmmaker someday. And I would say I kind of already am that, but obviously more like through the YouTuber sense. One of the big questions I always get asked is like, where do you get all your ideas for your videos? And it's like, I don't know, whatever I'm into,
Hmm.
we usually just throw Nerf in front of it.
Yeah.
So like way back when it was really big into like Hunger Games, so we made a Nerf Hunger Games video. And that was, to this day, that was still one of my favorite projects we ever made. It was like a ton of fun. So that's kind of the way I view it. And yeah, it's great.
And I'm sure you've realized that over the years too, yeah, that that freedom to kind of make whatever you want, as you said, it's super important. I'm imagining is that if there were more constraints, certain people asking for certain things and it didn't come directly from you, it would feel a lot more stressful and a lot less interesting to kind of pursue certain videos, and you'd probably find yourself closer towards that burnout road.
Yeah.
At the same time, you've talked about wanting to go into filmmaking more in the future, and that's where your passion really lies. How you use Nerf kind of as like the tools in
Yeah.
in most of your work. I imagine one day you would like to take a stab at some more traditional filmmaking
Yeah.
work that doesn't entirely center around Nerf. I know
Yeah.
there exists maybe a world where that does happen. It's probably a little bit exciting, but also a little bit intimidating to be like, okay, if I do kind of cross over to this different side, you recognize that a lot of the freedom will be kind of not taken away, but transformed. Like you kind of have to fit into a new way of doing your work, and
Yeah.
it's going to be very different. So is that something that you're looking forward to like in the near future, or do you kind of just see it as the eventual goal, and when it makes sense, you'll kind of take your first crack at it?
Yeah. You nailed it right at the end there. Whenever it makes sense, that's when I'll probably go for it. Over the years, I've thought like, hey, maybe I should fund my own like zombie film and hire a crew, and we won't have Nerf blasters in it. And maybe I should just go for it. But the timing has never really been right. And then it's also like a huge risk. And then the
Hmm.
audience that I have is not necessarily going to watch it, or a small portion of it might watch it. So yeah, it's very like I know the videos I'm making or they work and I enjoy making them. So it's very hard to kind of go after those other ideas and goals. And like I said, like the projects we're filming, a lot of times it's just me and like five friends or something like that. So to getting
Right.
into that world, it's a whole different ball game. And yeah, it's kind of nerve wracking. And I do think it's something I will start to invest my time in the future. But right now, it's like, I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. And that's what my wife always says. She's like, well, if you want to be a director, you want to be a filmmaker one day, like, how are you going to do it? And I'm like, I don't know. One day, I'm just going to have to kind of start. And with some of the projects we're doing, we kind of do head in that direction where there's some projects where I have hired an extra cameraman and we bring in 5, 10 extra guys on the weekends to shoot different scenes and whatnot. But so we kind of dabble in that area. But yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. Whenever it makes sense, it'll start to happen over time. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon with just starting a family right now, but maybe 5, 10, 15 years from now, who knows where we'll be at.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect answer. You still do put work into your, finding the inspiration, your script writing, your filming, then of course the editing part.
Yep.
Which of those is kind of your favorite then? Does that lend itself more towards the I want to be a director one day, or do you like being the sort of on-screen talent, or do you like just kind of sitting there for hours at a time thinking, that's a good idea. I'm gonna think about that more and write down some
Yeah.
thoughts.
That's definitely one of my favorites is just spending hours like thinking of videos in my head, whether it's taking a shower, cutting the grass or something, just letting my mind race for hours and coming up with a million different ideas. That's definitely a fun part of the job that I'm always thinking of different ideas. I do really like to film, especially if we plan it out really well. If we have an awesome location, we have a bunch of awesome blasters, and we're filming some sort of specific video that I'm excited for, a certain zombie video, or like I said, the Hunger Games video or something like that, then yeah. So filming can be a lot of fun, especially if it's one that we've put a ton of time into. Those days are awesome. They're a lot of work and they're exhausting, but for the most part, they're a ton of fun. We shot a World War II video like 3 years ago. We shot like a 20, 30 minute film. And the days of filming that, it was so hot. It was so much work. There were so many bugs. There were so many blasters and darts everywhere. But at the end of that summer, I asked all the guys and they were like, that was all of their like favorite projects and one of the highlights of their summer. And it was mine too. So like when I was just talking about like filming, that's the first one that came to my mind. Like filming that World War II video was awesome. So that would be a highlight. And then editing, I like to go over the footage. I like to do the first 2 hours cutting all the footage together, and then the final 2 hours of just kind of like cleaning it up and just tweaking it and whatnot. But some of these videos take 20, 30, 40, 100 hours to edit. So just
I don't
I
envy
like,
that. I can't even imagine what it's like with that amount of footage. It's
yeah.
way beyond anything I've ever attempted.
Luckily, I have two editors that are pretty good right now,
Mhm.
and I like to do the first 2 hours and the last two.
You're involved in every step too, which is the
Yes.
important part. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
these are very much like your videos. You don't just hand them off to someone else to make because, like, oh, again, I got to make a video and eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Can you come up with this idea and then I'll at least see the editing later and tell you what looks
Yeah.
good and what's not. Very hands off. Like, sorry, I'm busy, guys. Like, no, 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 these are your videos, very much your vision, put
Yes.
together. I'm sure you've seen the benefit of having your hands in every step of the creative process over the years.
Yes. It is, and it's hard to pull away because no one can do it quite like I can, right?
Exactly.
Or no one can quite do it like you can for whatever project or business you're in. So it's hard to figure out the right people and right jobs to kind of hand over. So that's something that I'm sure most influencers, YouTubers, or business owners, whatever, they all struggle with that, and that's something I definitely struggle with.
And you have made different types of these videos where, sometimes it is, the first person games and other
Yep.
times it's, a cameraman following people around. When it's the first person games, most of those times it's you, wearing the camera.
Yeah.
Sometimes, of course, we'll cut away to someone else's perspective of you,
Yep.
which are, fun because that's a nice creative touch, right? It's not just coming from your perspective.
Yep.
Obviously, I can see the video game inspirations for those. And you mentioned earlier too, it's like it's very some of your earliest videos, you've got that little helmet cam, like the was it a dirt bike helmet you
Yep.
said with like the GoPro on the front?
Yep.
Very funny way watching that on the side, like what it actually looks like, but it's still
Yeah.
very straightforward and it makes a lot of sense. I imagine some people look at that and they're like, "Wait, that's what he does? Like that's it?"
That's it.
Oh
Do
man,
you know what? And we still do that to
what
this day.
that's hilarious. And
We
that and I
still
love
do
that.
that.
I love that.
I've tried multiple setups, and that is the one that still works. I think we started with an old dirt bike helmet. I might have had a helmet in between, but then I bought an actual like motorcycle helmet and like took off the screen. And that's the one I still use to this day. I've tried different tactical helmets. I've tried turning bike helmets, other dirt bike helmets, all for like different weight and shape. Company actually came out with an official like first person helmet that has like weights on the back and has all these like
Hmm.
camera attachments. It's funny. I've tried them for different videos and I keep going back to this old motorcycle helmet that I've had for like 7, 8 years now. And it's still the one I use. It looks ridiculous, but it protects my head. So if I bump
Yeah,
into anything, and just the weight is what I'm used to, and the GoPro sits right in front of my face, and yeah, it looks ridiculous from a distance, but
it
that's pretty
works.
much how all these videos have been shot, and it works.
Yeah,
So
I heard you say that about the protecting your head. I've seen some of your behind the scenes footage which shows that working as intended. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
nice to see that it's not just like, oh, when this might happen. It's like, no, no, no. It will happen if you're not paying attention, especially
yeah,
because what you're probably focused on when you're capturing your gameplay,
yeah,
when you're capturing your shots is what's in front of you. Because all that really matters is that what you can see directly in
yep,
front of your face, and you're not really paying
yeah.
attention to what's going on over there. Because if you are, then your head starts to turn a little bit.
Maybe I'll find another setup in time, but everything I've tried, I keep going back to my original one. So
That's obviously a huge piece of your filming equipment or for,
yes,
for anything. How many blasters do you think you're usually bringing out for a day? Like with extras, with the darts, what are you typically looking at?
we're bringing anywhere from probably 15 to 50 blasters. So my most popular videos are the Nerf gun game series. There's usually 20 blasters in a row in a gun game. And then we try to bring at least two, if not three of each. So there's going to be on a day like that, there'd probably be around 40 to 60 blasters or weapons or toys or whatever, because there's so many different things we might use as well. And then on a gun game, we're going to have a minimum of 4 or 5 guys all the way up to 8 guys. And those are my biggest videos. If I'm just shooting like an unboxing video, I'll always have one or two of my guys with me. He'll just help me unbox things quickly or pass things to me or help me set everything up. So those are the easy days. And then sometimes when we've done bigger productions, like we did a zombie series earlier this year, and there was probably maybe like 8 to 10 of us every day for like 3 or 4 days of filming. So it kind of varies on the project, but I would say that on average, that's how it would usually go.
And you hold on to quite a few of these because you have a reason to. I
Yes.
mean, it's your job. You bring more of these back to the future videos. Like sometimes they'll be obviously highlighted for one video in particular, but then they might
Yeah.
show up in another one as a loadout.
Yeah.
How, I think you may have said that you were trying to downsize a little bit recently, and maybe this had to
Yeah.
do with your move as well. But can you think of at your peak, how many did you have to your name?
So I have a studio. It's like a big shop where most of my videos are shot now. And when we moved everything in there, we did a big count, and I think it was around 1,200.
Oof.
So, yeah, I think that was everything. I think that included all the blasters and all the water guns. And then we made a massive pile of like a bunch of the doubles and a bunch of the older ones that we knew we weren't going to use ever again. And we did a big giveaway like about a year and a half ago. So we
Nice.
just invited everyone out on like my Instagram and my Facebook and my wife's Facebook. And we just called a bunch of friends and family. And I think we had like somewhere between like 50 and 100 kids show up that day. And we just like each kid was like, you can take like 3 to 5. And then by the end, we were just like, anything that's left, just take it, just take it, just take it. And I think we got rid of like maybe like 300 or 400 that day. So that was a fun day.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
not
really
even like that much to make a dent into the collection overall, but I'm sure it felt very
yeah.
satisfying
No,
and
it
it was
felt
nice to do.
good to empty a bunch of the buckets. So even in the last year and a half, we're constantly adding new blasters because we're always getting ready for the next gun game and filming it.
Right.
So and then we're always doing the reviews of all the latest blasters too. So we're probably back up to like 900, 1,000 again. Yeah, I need to make a habit of it, like every 2 years, like do a big giveaway. I think that's a great way to give back to like the community and the friends and like family and friends and whatnot. So I'm sure maybe next year we'll do it again.
You've seen the challenge of there's always going to be new stuff and people want to
Yeah.
see that new stuff, whether it is
Yep.
just a simple overview, they want to hear about it, whether it's to make an informed decision or they're just curious what your thoughts are. You being in Canada, I imagine there are plenty of requests for certain things that are a little bit more challenging than maybe we see here on the state side. Do you really just kind of go with like it's on store shelves and that's what we're going to use?
Pretty much. In Canada, I can pretty much get everything. It's sometimes a lot of the products come a little bit later. Like one of
Mm.
the latest products, the Nerf Strife Pro, like for some reason, like you couldn't get it in Canada anywhere. It's not that like they couldn't sell it. I just think it just like didn't come to shelves or whatever. I was able to get the other Nerf Pro line.
Hmm.
So when I was in the States the other day, I like picked one up. And so there's that. And a companies do sell me blasters, but sometimes I just get them in advance and that does help. But for the most part, I pretty much just buy everything and I can pretty much just ship them. Yeah, I can pretty much ship them all here. So, and that's another thing. A lot of people are always like, Nerf must send you stuff, right? Like you must be sponsored by Nerf. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
definitely not. Most
Yeah, what's
definitely
your
not.
current relationship with Hasbro and Nerf in general?
Right now, like nothing. I don't think we've sent like zero
High
contact. We
five.
haven't had much contact with them ever. Well, right off the bat, I make Nerf gun game videos. So you
Hmm.
being in the space might know like Nerf, it's a Nerf blaster, not a Nerf gun, especially from the Nerf brand. They would never allow that. So I'm sure they're happy that they get the free advertising from me, but they really can't work with me and they don't really want to work with me. I went out to one of their events for the launch of the Ultra line back in
Yes,
2019. That was
the
fun.
Ultra One Championship,
Yeah.
as I
Yeah. I
recall.
was
Yeah.
invited to that. That actually was a lot of fun. That was
Hmm.
actually really cool. It didn't, I don't think the videos turned out very well. I don't think Nerf was very happy with it. I thought it was pretty lame. And
Didn't
for
expect
what
to
they,
ask you about that. Yeah, but
like what they
as a
put
video
into it,
creator, yeah.
like the set they had, the cameras they had, the crews they had, it was like you're expecting like this epic thing to come out. And it was like what came out was cool, but it was not like worth the budget that they had.
Hmm.
It was cool to like meet a bunch of other influencers to do it. So that was a very cool experience. And a year or two ago, for their TikTok and their short form content, they're constantly using creators to just help make like little videos and whatnot. And we shot a bunch of shorts and TikToks for them, and that was pretty fun. But over the last like 5 years, that's pretty much it. I occasionally get like a little Nerf box of some of the latest Nerf blasters, but
Yeah, it's better than nothing. I got the Strife Pro X, but that was thanks to the Out of Darts team and their kind of
okay,
collaboration with that launch. But
okay,
yeah, I've definitely noticed they're definitely a little stingy, a little touchy-feely, and you said it exactly right. I get why in some cases, but at the same time, like your videos are not putting like razor blades or toothpicks and darts. Like
No.
I think those are kind of less popular now, but
Yeah.
you're just kind of showing them being used. It's kind of taught me that Nerf doesn't totally care about their products being shown in use. They just care about them like, could you show them being shot at targets? But like, well, what about like human versus human? Nah. Target
No, no,
practice,
no.
please. Target
Yeah.
that. There's your
Target
range.
practice.
Like, shoot
That's it.
there. Mm-hmm.
They are very safe. They have a huge legal team, huge HR team that make, and I don't, everyone's like, oh, that's so stupid that they're so dumb. It's like, I'm like, if I was in their position, I don't know if I would do it any different. They're making toy guns. It's not really worth the risk.
Versus like I know X-Shot's been a little bit more open. Like I've seen so much more from them when trying to like work with people and just put out weird stuff. They definitely tried to poke more than Nerf has.
Yeah. X Shot has had a huge glow up in the last like 2, 3 years. They used to be, we used to like make fun of their stuff all the time and knock it down. You can cut this out if you want, but we used to always call it X. That's
Well,
what we always.
I mean,
That's what we always nicknamed it. We always
yep.
just like made fun of the X shot stuff and how bad it was. And like now, the last 2 or 3 years, I'm like the X shot stuff for most of the time is better than the Nerf stuff. Believe it or not. Yeah, and they have great marketing now, and they make great products. And yeah, X shot. I've been super impressed by X shot for the last like specifically the last 2 years. They're great.
It seems like they really do care about at least like getting stuff out there, and they've seemingly forced like Nerf's hand to make their stuff cheaper, and there've been
Yeah.
pros and cons associated with that, but it's not really a discussion that we need to have here. It'll take too long. Do you have Dart Zone stuff with you there? Or do you pay
Yeah.
attention much to their guy? Okay. Because I've heard some people in Canada say that they just like can't get Dart Zones. That's why I asked previously, but
I pretty much have most of it. Yeah, I feel like most of it you can get on Amazon, or I like more of like the brightly colored big guns like the X-Shot Insanity line or like Nerf Rival or something like that. So Dart Zones, they're kind of away from that, and like their pro line is pretty awesome, but the pro stuff doesn't actually work very well for my videos because you can't see the darts very well because they're flying so far
mm-hmm.
or so fast. So I would rather the dart fly like 90 feet per second rather than 150 feet per second. So, and I also like the full length darts better because you can see them better. So though
Yep.
the dart zone, like pro line and like these other pro lines are actually, they are very cool. They sadly don't work for my videos that well. So in that sense, yeah, they are cooler, and I do like them better. And if we were doing some sort of like competitive Nerf war or something like that, yeah, absolutely, I would use them. They're awesome.
Always been so obvious to me that like, yeah, the big darts, the benefit of playing with Nerf or like capturing Nerf footage is that you can usually watch the darts fly through the air, which is
Yeah.
why Mega XL is so satisfying. Watching the
Oh
little
yeah.
vortex disc go like whoop, and then like
Yeah.
veer off somewhere,
Yeah.
like the bright green, those colors. Yeah, they're very, very satisfying and fun to watch back if you can see it in the footage. I know I
Yep.
liked when the glow in the dark streamlines for the Raven, when they did that, that was like, oh
Yep.
my gosh, this is going to be game changing. Like I can actually see later, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe technology wasn't there just yet.
No, sadly not. My
But
favorite
you
line.
realize you can fake all your footage now.
It is true.
Pop,
We do
pop.
we It's very rare, but sometimes we have done videos like where we add like some of the modded guns that kind of look more realistic. And yeah, we just add some muzzle flashes to them and we pretend the person's getting shot. You add muzzle flashes and hit markers and it looks pretty legit. So but we're getting at that point we're getting more into like action like Call of Duty in real life rather than like specifically like Nerf gun game or something like that. So I've done a series in the past called Modded Mayhem, and I'm definitely going to be shooting more Nerf gun game Modded Mayhem. And a lot of those times it's just like the blasters just have like they look really sick and they have like black spray paint on them or mod kits or something. It's like, hey, if we didn't mod it to actually like shoot darts, it's like who cares? We'll edit it.
Yeah,
But like 99% of the time, we are always shooting like actual darts and making sure that they actually hit people.
I do
Which
really appreciate that. It's definitely something that I like about, it sets you apart from kind of like the copycat channels. And you'll include sometimes too when like a blaster maybe jams or like dart falls right out. You're like, oh no. And it's like,
yeah,
that's a very real experience, which is why it still kind of makes me chuckle that Nerf is like, we don't want that. Okay, I guess saying it out loud, I completely understand why they don't want that
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
included. Like, oh, the dart fell right out. Yeah, very
yeah.
real.
No, a lot of times we'll cut it out, but if it's funny by any means, then
Hmm.
I will usually keep it in like a gun game or whatever. my catchphrase in those videos are you freaking kidding me? So if the dart falls out, it jams. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, you've got your head cam, you got the blasters, got a
Yeah.
lot of darts, I assume. What's
Yeah.
your typical go-to then for like, there's obviously so many that exist nowadays. Do you typically like just buy the very accurate Nerf Elite darts in bulk because it's authentic, or do you find an alternative to supply your videos with?
A couple years ago, I just bought like 2 or 3 thousand like elite darts off of like Amazon or some website or whatnot. And they're just all sitting in a drawer still. And we use most of those to this day. When we do something like a gun game, we take all of the ammo from each of the different blasters and we'll usually put them like in a bin. So we have all the specific ammo from those blasters for that video. But then after that video shot, they kind of just end up in like we have like all these like little storage containers of different colors for the
Hmm.
red darts, the Star Wars darts, the Fortnite darts or whatever, like all this exclusive specific ones for specific blasters. The X Shot darts, I actually like those a lot. The X Shot version of the Elite darts, again, X Shot used to always be terrible and their dart sizes were like different, but now they're pretty much identical and they work great.
Their
And so
heads
I
were
have,
different too. They wouldn't work in the same blasters because they had that little like overhang on the side.
yeah, but that doesn't really seem to exist anymore. So now I have
Nope.
just like a big bin of like these 3,000 darts that I bought a couple years ago and hundreds or maybe even thousands of X Shot darts as well that like I think X Shot sent me like a year or two ago with the Insanity line. And we've bought some more as well. So I have
Hmm.
so many elite darts. It's like, and they're constantly like getting mixed together. And I'm always like, we should just like throw out one of them and just like choose one. But they at least all work together. So it's like,
Right.
who cares? They work. They look almost identical. And then we usually have like a bin of Rival and Ultra or whatever. We have like a
Hmm.
big ammo crate with like multiple compartments in it. And then just like each compartment has like one of the stock ones. Usually that's good enough for when we're traveling. But a lot of times we always film like on location where the studio is. So we do that most of that. But like whenever we travel anywhere, we always yep, bring a big bin full of ammo and then like several bins full of blasters and then all of our like costume stuff, vests and masks and goggles and the specific shoes or pants or whatever. You go back like 7, 8, 9 years ago when I started doing this, yeah, you have like 2 or 3 bins, but the projects get bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we're
Yep.
filling my truck and filling a trailer and bringing like 9 big bins and 3 or 4 small ones. And the production is just getting bigger and bigger. And it's fun. I love it.
How then do you choose some of these locations? Because you have, as you've explained,
Yeah.
shot quite often pretty close to where you live. And obviously, there's a huge advantage to not having to bring your stuff too
Yeah.
far away. And obviously, you can maybe get your hours in a little bit more efficiently when it's close. And hey, bathrooms inside, right? Like, what does it take then to pull you to a new spot? Because you've had some pretty cool ones in your videos that I like. I see them and I'm like, I would A, love to nerf there, but also B, only have fingers. I would just love to go there in general.
Yeah, these are just places where I found online and messaged like the owners, and they've happened to say yes. And a lot of times it's shocking, but most of the time they're kind of open up for like the free advertising. So most of the places we do film at are paintball fields.
Hmm.
Going back like 8, 9 years ago, there most of the videos were originally based off like Nerf meets Call of Duty. That's where we kind of started. And so a paintball field in like the Chicago area made like a real life nuke town. I
Hmm.
messaged them and they were like, yeah, you can film here. And that was like right when I kind of started doing this full time. And I was like blown away that they were going to let us do that. And that was such a cool experience. And then another map from Call of Duty is firing range. There was another paintball field we found that made the real life firing range. So messaged them. They said, yeah, sure. Scheduled a date, went down and saw them. And yeah, most of these places are just places that I think like, hey, this would actually look really cool in a gun game and make it special. So we message a trampoline park or message a parkour park. And it's amazing how most places are, if they're not like a big corporate place, we've always wanted to film at like I think it's Great Wolf Lodge where they have like the indoor water parks. Like
Oh yeah.
impossible. Never can film there. Like
Mhm.
I'm sure if we wanted to, we could make it happen one day, but it would just take so many emails and calls and plannings but all these other companies, yeah, if they're like independently owned, they're excited for the free advertising and we love to go there and experience it. And that's what makes the video so much more fun too. And I think that shows on camera for like actually running around this paintball field or
Right.
a parkour park or something like that. It just adds so much to the video because the guys are also just excited to be there too, which is great.
Do you still rent the places out, or do they literally just let you come in and film for like free advertising?
Most of the time they let us film for free advertising, like nine times out of 10. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much we always pretty much followed up with like, hey, we're a YouTuber. Here's an example of a video that we've done before. We have X amount of subscribers whenever it's whatever point at it is. And most of the time they're like, hey, yeah, we're very interested. We'd love for you to come. And we always try to make it super easy on them. So it doesn't really cost them anything. Like, hey, we'll come on
Of
off
course,
hours.
yeah.
Like paintball fields are great, especially if it's not in the summer. Like, hey, we'll come film on like a Wednesday morning or something like that. And
Mm.
they're happy for the free advertising. And then I'll usually pay for paintball for all the guys afterwards. So they get like a little private party in there and we get the sweet location. And yeah, that
Yeah,
kind of all works out. Yeah, there's a
that definitely
lot of great
helps.
companies and they're almost always great. And
What's the one that you're like, oh, I would love to go back there, or even just like you had a really good experience and like nothing will ever top the video we made there?
the two I mentioned were very exciting back in the day when we did the real life Nuketown and the real life firing range. That was a very cool experience. Like that was the first time where I packed up the truck with like 5 or 6 guys, been doing like YouTube full time for a year, and like booked a hotel, brought all the guys, brought all the blasters, and then after each day of filming, we played paintball. So that was just a really cool like getaway experience and getting to bring all the guys with me. That was like, hey, this is kind of like a real production for the first time. The videos that are actually the most fun to film and usually are the most successful are actually the Super Soaker videos. No darts, no
Yep.
costumes. I overheat extremely easy. So being in the water makes my life so much easier. They're also quicker to film because there's less parts to it. Super Soakers are the best videos overall to film, the ones I'm the most excited for as well, the most fun. And there's a couple water parks, specifically Nerf Super Soaker 4 had like a large outdoor water park, inflatable water park. Sadly, it doesn't exist anymore. We actually released the day after they closed that year and they never opened again.
Whoa.
So that video got like 200 million views and they
Mm-hmm.
were never open a day after that video got released. I feel really bad that they sadly were never open again. But that was an incredible video to film because we had access to this whole inflatable large water park that generally when people were there would be like 100 to 200 people at a time, mandatory life jackets, and we didn't have to wear life jackets. We just had like run in this place for like 3 4 hours and just had like an absolute blast. And then the video was because of that, I think is one of the reasons why it was just like super successful and like my second most successful video ever, I think.
Your top three are Super Soaker. I just pulled it up. They're
Yeah.
top three are Super Soakers. That is a very you explained why you probably have no issue with that, but it's probably a very weird feeling when you're like, oh yes, all these like Nerf blasters, darts, and we're gonna figure this out. Oh, it's the Super Soaker ones that took off for some reason. Oh
Yeah.
no, but okay.
I think they're just the most fun to film. And I think that shows on camera. And during the summer, I think kids are searching Nerf, like water gun fight and water war and Super Soaker more than Nerf. So I still am trying to figure that out myself all these years later and still making the Super Soaker videos. Like, I guess kids just like Super Soakers and water guns better than regular Nerf blasters.
Even Nerf did a little challenge for their Nerf House Showdown series at their location. They had one of those setups with the inflatables and did like little target. Again, target practice. Can't be shooting at other people for the actual competition stuff. I wonder if they ever like got inspiration from yourself just because that was 5 years ago and you can't deny that the thing exists already. And if it's been seen that much, you gotta
Yeah.
recognize that there's something appealing about that. And it just looks genuinely fun. I would want
Yeah.
to do that. Like, yeah, sign
Yes.
me up. Absolutely.
To go back to the like locations, we actually another thing we do is we'll rent Airbnbs that kind of like are like a secluded like large property
Mm,
and we'll film videos. We'll usually film like one video on the inside, then we'll film like a video in like the backyard, and then we'll film one video around a pool. So we'll like rent the place for like 3 or 4 nights and try to get like 2 or 3 videos out of it. So like I think my second, it's either the second or I think it's the second most popular video of mine is Super Soaker 6. And that was just shot at like a Airbnb that we filmed at. Yeah. So those we don't get for free, sadly.
ah, but
We
you make
rent
it
those.
worth. You make it worth it. I
We make it
mean,
worth it. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Like
We
that
pump
is
out 2 3 videos out of it. And
that's how you
again,
do
it's
it.
like I take the guys away for a couple nights and pay for all their food and we try to like do cool experiences while we're there. And then we spend each day like 4 to 6 hours filming these epic gun games that hopefully kids and adults and Nerf enthusiasts and Call of Duty fans all over the world will enjoy. So,
Yeah,
and so
no,
far it's been working.
it sounds awful. Like, yeah, it's so terrible. Just absolute exploitation. Where do I sign up? Your friends, obviously, yes, have been a big part of making this all work over the years, and
Yeah.
it's you don't have to sell me on the appeal of it. When do you determine that you need like a bunch of more people versus like my core group of say like up to 10? I don't know what your kind of like usual numbers are.
Usually it's whoever is available. Usually my guys, they it's when they start to grow up, when they get married or they go off to school or something, then I start to lose guys. And then it's like, okay, now we need to find the next younger batch. So this year, a bunch of my cousins, they all turned like 16 or 17. They kind of got old enough that they can now drive and whatnot. Now they've kind of been added to the roster of guys that I always message for whenever we're filming. And then usually, other than that, it's just been like friends of friends. It's not like I'm throwing out like an ad anywhere or anything. It's just like word of mouth and friends of friends and family. So they have fun doing the videos, and I always like pay my guys and whatnot too. But like if they go off to school or they get married or something, I'm like, dude, you were so good in my videos. I want to have you back. And they're like, yeah, I'll come be in your videos, but you got to like let me know like a month in advance. And I'm like, and so sometimes it's like we do plan out videos like that, but most of the time we're filming like only like ever like maybe like a week or two in advance. Like we're doing a big video in January, so I have like 4 or 5 of my guys like scheduled out in advance for that specific video. So
You've reached out to some other people that are maybe more familiar to like the Nerf community side too. Like I've
yeah,
seen Drac and some of your older stuff.
oh yeah,
I think I saw the behind the scenes of the guy who did the Halo outfit that you invited up. So it
yeah.
was really cool to see his perspective as well. Again, like a little behind the scenes to see the magic happen.
I've always been a big Halo fan, and I found some like Halo cosplay forum and like around the area that I lived, and I messaged a bunch of people, and he was one of the few people that messaged me back, and he was super excited to do it. There's a guy named Laliberte Cinemas. I don't know if you know him. He lives in Canada here, so he was really easy to work with. So we did videos with him a couple of years ago. And Drax been a good buddy of mine for like 9 years now. When I was first getting started doing this full time, we started a zombie series, and I randomly reached out to him about like modding Nerf blasters, and then he was like, "Oh, I'd love to be in the video," and I was like, what? Really? No way. So then a couple like weeks or couple months later, he came down, and we've just been buddies ever since.
You haven't been then to too many other like Nerf events that you're kind of not hosting yourself.
Yeah.
Have you had any kind of like inklings of interest of like going to an event, like another big event, in the future to like actually play at a game?
Yeah, I would. I did do Humans versus Zombies. If we went back like maybe 7 years ago, I don't know if Drac is still heavily involved with that or not, but he was at the time.
He runs a yearly one still.
He
It
still does.
might be
He
it
still
might
does.
be his. It might let's see. Cut out the pandemic time. Yeah, it probably was his.
Okay. One of the events that he either was running or heavily involved with. I can't really remember. And so we did that maybe like 6, 7 years ago. Yeah, it was cool. And like you said, it's kind of like at this point, it's like kind of like my job. And I haven't really known too many people in the community other than really Drac. So obviously I've been to Jared's Epic Nerf Battle, which is cool. That's more of like almost more like a fan meetup kind of rather than like actually a Nerf war.
I'd call it kind of like a child's birthday party, but like
Yeah, but
stretched
really,
up.
really
And it's
big.
yeah, and it's not even that it has to be like a bad way to describe it. It just that's you don't go in like expecting I'm going to win. You just go in expecting like probably going to get hit a lot, and I don't want to hurt the younger folks if I'm using something. So let's just have
Yeah.
a good time.
Yeah, exactly. No, I would be open to it. I live a very busy life, and I am actually quite private person. Like I said, we kind of live in the middle of the woods away
Hmm.
from everyone. But yeah, there's nothing really. I've never been really invited to too many things, and if I was, it doesn't necessarily mean I would be able to make it anyways. It's not like everything. It's not like there's anything like within an hour here from here.
Hmm.
They did the Dart Zone Championship thing like 2 summers ago or 3 summers ago, and I was like, that sounds cool because I like
Yeah.
the like competitiveness of it. I like the goal of it.
Hmm.
Not that
The
I'm saying
the
I'd only go if I could win $10,000. That's not what I'm saying. But I like that like intense competitiveness of it as well. I think that would be
yeah.
that was I was just like, oh my gosh, Nerf needs to do something like that with the pro line. That would be intense. But
Oh gosh, there's
no,
so much to unpack there. Yes.
yeah, I would love to be part of those things. Also, it's maybe I'm not going searching for it too because I have such access to it. If I really wanted to have like an intense Nerf war, it's like I have like 10 of my buddies that we could load up all the guns and like film in the woods or like shoot around the house or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of the communities are great because a lot of the people maybe don't have as many people that they know that they could do a Nerf war with. So having these communities are great where people can find like-minded people. But yeah, I guess I've just never gone searching for it because I have such access to it.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but that makes perfect sense. You know, you mentioned there's two things there. With Jared's epic Nerf battle in the past, and you being a
Yeah.
private person, I can actually connect these two. We've met before.
Have we?
Yeah,
Oh, really? Were you
at
at one of
Jared's
the
epic
events?
Nerf battle.
Okay, which one?
So this was 2018, so I think that was four.
Okay. Okay.
Very brief. I saw you standing at one of the end zones, ready to start whatever next match it was. And
Yeah.
I was not there as like a VIP. I was just there as an attendee with Captain Xavier. And so I was walking over kind of towards a similar area to get started. But for some reason, like you weren't being swarmed by kids or anything. You were just kind of like standing there on your own. And I
Okay.
walked up to you and I was like, dumbest thing you can say. Are you Aaron Esser? Obviously. And she's like, oh yeah, yeah. And I can't exactly remember how the rest of the interaction went, but it was very brief. And I was very quick to pick up on like, oh, this man is like existing on his own at this chaotic and crazy event where he probably gets like zero time to himself. This is
Yeah.
probably him thriving. And so I just kind of like said hi. Then I just recognized that that's what was happening and I walked away. It was like there's no reason to be like, what's your
No way.
favorite? What's your favorite blast? What are you using today? Are you excited to be here?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know do you know Jared? Do you know Drac? I was like, there's no way you remember it because it was such an unmemorable experience. But it was a very funny way to kind of like see you for the first time and that just
Yeah.
like just doing your own thing. Let him play, let him enjoy his time. It was just super funny to think back about that.
That's a cool story. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't know. Yeah, Jared's epic Nerf battles are really cool. They're very interesting experiences, especially for being like YouTuber or influencer like myself, like little kids and stuff like that, or even just anyone is like, oh, you're famous, you're a celebrity. And it's like, oh, I don't feel that way. Like,
Yeah.
because I don't get really recognized in public or anything. And like my friends and family, I'm just completely like normal average dude.
Yeah.
But something like Jared's epic Nerf battle is like one of the few things I've ever done where it's like, whoa, this is crazy. Like
Yeah.
being swarmed by like 20, 30 kids at a time. And I'm like,
As soon as you get close enough to the like stadium, you
yeah,
become like a person of interest very,
yeah.
very quickly.
Suddenly you're like, whoa, like those views, those little the number tick, like
Hmm.
those are all someone out there watching my videos. It's
Have
like,
your Sharpie ready because people are going to ask for like
yes.
signatures on their blasters. Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Which is super fun to like meet all the fans and sign their blasters and stuff. But yeah, that is like a maybe once in a year if you go to Jared's epic Nerf battle thing, and that's like the one time where it's it is completely overwhelming. Absolutely.
Hmm.
A couple hours and you're like, okay, guys, I need a break here. I'm an introvert. Give me like half an hour to recover here.
Yeah.
But it also is just such a cool experience to like to see the impact, I guess, and how many people actually watch the videos. It's pretty cool.
Coop, before he left doing what he did, would talk
Yeah.
about how kind of events like that were the reason why, or at least they showed the reason why he couldn't go to any like Nerf games
Mm,
beyond something that gave him like I don't want to say like protection, but like
yeah.
VIP status where you can kind of retreat away if you need to and you'll actually have your own space. Because someone like him, he got into the Nerf scene with like the modding stuff and eventually just kind of grew a channel to be like significantly sized to where people would like constantly tune in to check out his reviews.
Yeah.
But he just was very recognizable and he definitely related to that feeling of like being overwhelmed in event spaces. And I talked to other people too who, if they have somewhat of a social media following and they go to these events, even if they are smaller, it becomes a little bit more difficult to play sometimes because you got people who are like trying to talk your ear off, which I mean, why wouldn't they want to like
Yeah,
be able to
for
talk
sure.
to you? This might be their one experience that they get to. You realize that you're not really able to play at that point, or just kind of you're going there to socialize. And so
Yeah.
it can be difficult to, yeah, like look forward to or just like actively seek out more events. I don't know what it would be like for you if you'd be able to play the same way or if people would be like, tag out Aaron exclusively, make sure he doesn't last a minute in this HVZ now.
Yeah, like even when like I said, when I went to the humans versus zombies, like even though it was probably like 7, 8 years ago or something, yeah, I definitely remember being recognized multiple times there.
I have to say too, upon meeting you, I can confirm you're also very tall. You stand out in a crowd, like quite literally. So
Yes,
for me,
I'm
being
6'3".
yeah, no, I'm around 5'6". So it's like,
Okay.
yeah, you're very easy to point out and be like, oh, that's the guy. I mean, it's either like that tall dude or that other tall dude. That's really weird. Like of the people we've talked about before, like you, Coop, Drac, all tall dudes,
Yeah, we're all like
really
6'3".
tall. And I gotta say, easier target. So
Yes.
no, consider being
Yes.
shorter if you want to go to these games. That's I think my
Yeah.
takeaway.
We did like an amazing race event, me and my dad and my wife and my mom earlier this year in the summer. It was planned by someone else. And there was like this little like gel blaster event. You had to like go up against a different team. And whoever like eliminated the other team got like the point or whatever part of this race game thing we were doing. Local amazing race game that they made. And at the very end, it was like me versus like this kid. And I ended up losing, and everyone was like, "You're the Nerf guy." Like I'm like, I am like 4 times the size of this kid. I'm like the guy. He had the upper hand on me no matter what. We're like behind these little barricades. So yeah, size doesn't help in that situation.
I've definitely found the advantages of being small when it comes to hiding behind cover over the years. So, yeah, there's definitely one side of Nerf where I find myself thriving, I suppose. Even if they
Awesome.
make the cover small and people complain, like those little inflatable,
Yeah, yeah,
what are
yeah.
they, bunkers?
Bunkers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll find a way. I don't have to go
Nice.
prone. I
Yeah.
can hunch over the little gremlin. I am the child.
So is your channel is mostly gameplay. What is your like plan and vision with that?
My channel started with gameplay back in like 2010. I got into Nerf when I was in like middle school and I was playing with my friends and we would record some of those games and that was the genesis of how things got started. And it's always been a major component of my channel. And over the years, I've run a bunch of different stuff recording it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that to stop. Like some of my more recent videos too have just been like different loadouts and finding ways to spin what they are. And I think some of my more popular stuff, well known from others, is just, having people choose my loadouts and then I try to use them in a game. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
fails spectacularly, and other times I will put myself to the limit to get tags with the dumbest things. Some things you probably see in your videos too, but when it comes to playing with people who are 3 times as power like using blasters 3 times as powerful as you, it can be
Yeah.
difficult. I like to keep putting out those videos because I think they also show our games in like a good light and they show like
Mm-hmm.
the fun of Nerf and not being taken too seriously because you can and should use
Yeah.
fun stuff in games. We talked about how you record things and it
Yeah.
looks pretty good, you know. It's fine. It's fine. It gets you, hundreds of millions of views. It's fine. I guess it works. Obviously it looks great. A lot of people for our games will use little like head cameras.
Yeah.
They'll use GoPros, Insta360 goes. I'm sure you've heard
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah.
Those I've liked using that, even if it's not as high quality, it's just so much less weight,
Yeah.
and not having that weight on your head, especially like the GoPro strap. It's too far away. Is just always like
Yeah.
I always
It
found it would give
dangles
me a
and
headache. Yeah, and
yeah.
it dangles like that. Mounting stuff to my blasters sometimes too for unique shots have been all across the spectrum. So I do want to keep doing that stuff, and I enjoy doing it. I think is useful for people seeing games and seeing a different way to play games. But I got to be honest, YouTube doesn't seem to like them. That's the story I'm going with. I'm gonna blame
Okay.
YouTube instead of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The
Okay.
classic, tried and true accusation pointing at the platform. You post videos that are basically gameplay related, and I've been trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out the best way to differentiate them. And I don't want to say one's real, one's fake, because that's too negative. It's yours are like produced.
Yeah. They're like almost like short films almost.
Yeah, and mine are recorded. Like
Yeah.
game starts, I hit record, game ends, and then I hit stop.
Mm-hmm.
So however we want to call them, there's somehow this massive divide between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that for you, you obviously post videos that have good shots in them. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that for some people, when they post gameplay that is boring and you don't see anything, that's
Mm-hmm.
probably not going to be super appealing to watch. But there's something else, or there's some things else that's just not adding up, that's not bridging this gap between the two. And I don't know if you have any thoughts and if you've seen like any of those gameplay videos and you have like kind of critiques for them, but like what do you think about that kind of like difference?
Good question. I think just like going to events and just recording is going to be very, very difficult. The closest thing that you could maybe get away with that is doing something like, have you ever heard of Novrage, the airsoft guy?
I
He
just started looking into more airsoft people, so
he
I'm gonna
is
have
an
to say no
airsoft
for now.
YouTuber and he has multiple camera angles and he is
Hmm.
able to go to like these events with like hundreds of people and he has GoPros on his face and he has like a zoom in scoped camera
Hmm.
so you can actually see the airsoft like he's like his main thing is that he's a sniper so you can see actually see these footage of him doing like these ridiculous shots from like hundreds of feet away.
Yeah.
So because he has all that gear and he's able to showcase these epic things that he's able to do, he's actually able to create like gameplay footage even though it's like he's shooting like a little white BB that you can barely see. You could
We
do
have people
that.
who do try using scope cams, and
Yeah.
I've put cameras on like the side of the blaster before too, in addition
Yeah.
to like my head. I totally agree. Like getting more of those shots. The welcome to more editing fun is the takeaway
Yeah.
there for sure.
Yeah, more
Um,
cameras, more gear. It's like then yeah, it's like
yeah.
that just makes it more definitely more difficult and a lot more going on.
One thing I
And that,
pride myself on still, no one can take this away from me, is that I do get interesting footage. If it's not interesting, I don't post it. And why I
yeah.
sometimes will use different loadouts is because it's just inherently funny to see someone using like,
Hmm.
the new Fortnite blaster in a game where people are shooting like all those new Dark Zone Pro blasters, for example, that are
Hmm.
significantly overpowered. And you see little old me like charge in, basically run at someone point blank to try and shoot them, and then I just get like destroyed. And I
Yeah.
just keep doing it 5 times in a row, and then like the sixth one, like you just barely like you see the dart just kind of like float and like tags them out, and it's like victory,
Yeah.
victory, hooray, like
Yeah.
hilarious. For some reason, it doesn't seem to appeal to people, or maybe it's like a packaging issue. I'm sure you deal with that too. Like, how do I? This is good footage. This is a good video, but it's like then how do
Yeah.
you advertise it to people afterwards? So it's like maybe there's that too, but it's just
Having a
like
good title and a good thumbnail is super, super
yeah.
important. Super, super important. I don't know. I've looked at your channel a little bit on or off ever since we started talking on Instagram there, but I'd have to take
I'm
a look.
sorry.
But getting like a really good like thumbnail would be super, super important. Like that's sometimes more important than the video.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing. My first thought, if I again, so if I was going to do like gameplay footage, my first thought is I would do something like Noverge where it was like you could get epic moments, but that is even harder to do with Nerf than Airsoft. So my main thing that I would probably do is make it all about the people and that the people that you're playing with and competing with. Have you ever heard of Battle Universe?
I have, and I
So
have seen those videos in the past
yeah,
before they closed it down,
yeah, they
if I
did close it
understand.
down, but like they got up to like I think like 2 million subscribers and they had like gameplay videos, but it was
Yep.
always like the same people in an office again and again. So
Hmm.
then that it was more about like the people competing against each other. Now, I don't know how that would be easy to do in your situation or or another person who's asking, but that would be what I would think is probably what would be better in the Nerf space is having people again and again like can Aaron and Mitch beat Kevin and Nathan? Oh no, I think Mitch is better. I think Kevin's better. And then you have like these different characters. And that was kind of what Battle Universe was. They were doing like real life Nerf battles, but it was also about like them beating each other. I
Yeah.
think that would be easier to do on camera for Nerf. I don't know how easy that would be for someone else or for yourself. Because if you're just at an event with like 10, 20, 100 people and you're just shooting random people, it's a little bit, yeah, I don't
No
know.
context means it's hard
There's
to
less,
follow, right?
yeah, exactly. There's less emotion, there's less context. But
Yeah.
I do like your idea of like that you do have like this ridiculous situation where you're outgunned and like, can you actually get away with it? And then like the whole video you're trying to get someone with like a little jolt pistol and at the very end you do pull it off like that is an
Hmm.
interesting concept. So but then the next thing would be, do you have an interesting thumbnail, interesting title, and then do you have is the footage showcasing like this actually happening? So yeah, it's a hard question. There's so many different elements
Yeah.
to
And
it.
it's hard too because yeah, this isn't something that you can like fake, right? Like
Yeah.
this is like real gameplay, and all you need is like one person to just be like on your butt the entire day, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well. my life is ruined. Cool.
Yeah.
But I asked this not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of, I know there's so many people who like to record our games
Yeah.
nowadays, from across the world. They'll sometimes tell me like, "Oh, I'm gonna post my gameplay footage on YouTube," and I'm like, "That's awesome! Like, I hope the people who went to the game and you enjoy it. Just like don't get your hopes up too high because I've been now doing this for." Like posting videos a little bit more regularly for like 7 years and slowly gotten a little bit better and like not crazy good at editing but like just a little bit better since I started posting gameplay and
Hmm.
it's like it's still really hard to find that footing and it's like yeah you just got to keep throwing new stuff into it but just the people who think they're going to post their raw gameplay footage and people are going to find it and be like oh my gosh Nerf is so cool you might get like one video that I think gets a bit of extra eyes, but it's just so tough. And I know people are a bit discouraged sometimes when they see like, oh,
Yeah.
why aren't people enjoying like my 18 minutes of like gameplay footage from this event that was so cool? I want people's videos to, yeah, get to the right audience because my takeaway from like watching your stuff too is that there are people who love just to see these blasters being used. They love to see your fun events.
Yeah.
But they also, there's got to be some people afterwards who are like, what about like people actually doing this, like not in a produced sense. And so it's like, how do we help them then find these actual
Yeah.
games that are being held? Because then they can find out, like, oh my gosh, wait, I live like 30 minutes away from where this was held, right? Like that's
Yeah.
amazing. And then they can actually play, and
Yeah.
thus mission accomplished. More people buying stuff as they can actually use it.
I think the biggest thing that's missing would be like the Battle Universe example would be kind of like emotion, like someone's watching, like, is this person going to win? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, some sort of connection with the person or other like opponents in the video. And then the other thing would be kind of like the airsoft example where like if you're going to upload 18 minutes of footage, like it better be 18 minutes of epic footage where someone's like,
Hmm.
did you see that shot? Like it's which is like that's going to take some work. Like you're
Yeah.
going to have to like have an epic day or you're going to have to do some serious editing or something. So if especially if you want to reach the masses, right? Because everyone's fighting for everyone's eyeballs. And
It's
then
true.
classic YouTube things, if you have a good title and a good thumbnail and you be consistent, you make 100 videos, hopefully one takes off, and then once that one takes off, it just keeps going.
Your backlog then will speak for itself because people want to check it out
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, this is good too." So I'm sure you've seen YouTube change over the years and had to, maybe change up your styles a little bit. Maybe not. I guess I don't know.
It's hard to know because YouTube is constantly changing, and I
Yep,
I struggle with that every single day. It's like
it's your job. Yep.
sometimes I'm like, hey, the videos from 5 years ago that had way less editing and way simpler
Right.
everything do better than now, and I'm like, did we overproduce them? Did the algorithm change? Do are we making videos that are Nerf just not as big? Is Call of Duty not as big? And everyone, including myself, is just figuring it out as we go along, and it's just part of the game, I guess.
We're trying to like just slowly expand a little bit, right? Like we're trying to
Yeah,
put our feelers out just a little touch and get like some people who might be on the fringes of like Nerf or like airsoft or paintball that like then find this and like, oh, that's not what I thought it was at all. Because that's
yeah,
oftentimes what we'll find like in our comment sections of people who stumble across this and be like, wait, that's not the Nerf I remember 10 years ago. This looks pretty fun. Where's the
yeah,
next event so I can play too? Because
yeah,
we just want people to play. We want
yeah.
to
That's
show that
awesome.
this is fun.
Keep
You're
doing that
supposed
and
to
keep keep
solve my
keep
problems,
keep
man.
building the community. I guess I don't know.
You just posted, this is hilarious timing. Almost 2.5 hours
Yeah,
of Nerf gun game special editions. I don't know if your metrics are here to back this up or not, but almost 200,000 views in less than a week. It's not
yeah.
too bad, man.
That's one of
Two
my
and a half
best
hours?
that's one of my best performing videos in a long time. It was like constantly trying to make new content, and YouTube's funny. YouTube rewards long form content, and then it was just like, hey, let's take all these other videos and put them all together. And that's usually my biggest videos. I'll do something like a zombie series, like 3, 4, 5 parts, and then I'll put them together and release the full film. And like that's actually like the bread and butter is the full film. YouTube really is pushing the longer form content, especially like things like podcasts and whatnot. So
Mm.
I've done a lot of Dino Squad videos over the years, and we're filming our last one this weekend and then going to release the full film. I'm filming 2 gun games in Florida in the new year, in the first week or second week of January. And we're just doing a bunch of mini projects right now, like some unboxings. And we did quiet place challenge videos. I don't know if you've seen any of those where we have everyone blindfolded and someone runs around, tries to pop all the balloons while everyone is
Hmm.
blindfolded and has like a mega Excel blaster trying to shoot them.
I like when those are done actually, because I've seen some questionable authenticity wise
Yeah,
ones
they're fake.
online.
No,
So
ours are fully real, and we
I like
did
that being
like
real.
2 separate days of filming. So
Wow.
those are coming out in the next couple of weeks here, and then to make it like a full film, we're doing all our old ones, and then we just put them on at the end as well to do like a big. It'll be like an hour of Nerf Quiet Place challenge or whatever. And a big project that I want to do soon is more World War II and zombies. Those are like my two favorite things that I like to do. So I'm hoping to get more into that in the new year and just filming and vlogging films as well. We've done where like I kind of vlog the whole thing and it kind of goes back and forth between vlogging and first person, makes it a little bit more easier to edit. And then we put those
Mhm.
together and make them into a big film. So
Nice.
yeah. And I'm busy being a
Busy.
dad right now. So
Yeah, that is, I was gonna say that's the full-time job, really. This other stuff just kind of happens on the side, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I saw you had some of your older videos had little like behind the scenes footage of that too. So I was
yeah.
just so interested when I, started learning more about kind of your channel and just how these videos came together. I was like, oh man, I'd be really curious to watch that like behind the scenes sometimes. So it's cool to, and anytime you get a like little peek behind the curtain, I'm always just like curious,
Yeah.
whether it's been from like you know, YouTubers like yourself, or sometimes what like Nerf puts out, I'm like, oh, that was terrible. I've got to know more. Like that's
What went
maybe
into
that's a little less
that?
positive, but in your case, it's a genuine, interesting
yeah.
curiosity.
We used to do behind the scenes for almost all gun games and big videos, but over time I realized it was just another video to edit.
Yeah,
And my one of my guys, Kevin, he'll sometimes do behind the scenes videos on his channel, like here and there. He's always like, "Is it okay if I do it?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't care. You can do it behind the scenes as much as you want. Go for it." It's like I'm not doing it anymore. I haven't done it in a long time. So,
yeah.
but yeah, it's pretty cool.